Okay, so with the pause on student loans, the ending of that pause being right around the corner, I figured I'd talk about the situation of student loans and how borrowers are currently feeling. So there was a poll, I believe, and this is an article from Business Insider that details the following. 1 in 5 student loan borrowers don't know what their monthly bills will look like when repayments resume in 57 days. The article says the following. The student loan industry is getting a shock to its system in 2 months when millions of borrowers will have to restart monthly payments after what will be a nearly 2-year pause. While many of those borrowers do not believe they can afford those payments, new data found some of them don't even have a plan to tackle the quickly approaching repayment deadline. Bankrate, a consumer financial services company, released a survey on Monday that found 18% or 1 in 5 borrowers do not have a plan to restart paying off their student debt on February the 1st. Of the 4,773 adults surveyed, 31% are choosing to continue with normal repayment plan. 29% are enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan, and 16% will apply to defer their student loans until they have the means to afford payments. It's encouraging that most borrowers have already considered strategies for resuming payments in anticipation of deferment ending. Melissa Venable, online education advisor for bestcolleges.com, said in a statement, for those that haven't, the good news is that there is time to speak with their federal student loan servicers to discuss options and avoid missed payments. Unfortunately, student loans are a hardship for many, and those who become delinquent face myriad of additional financial challenges. Those challenges that Venable mentioned can be significant. As Insider previously reported, falling behind on payments can have a negative impact on borrowers' credit scores, causing wages to be garnished and federal benefits like child tax credits to be seized, also making it sometimes impossible for mortgages and other types of loans to be taken out until the borrower returns to good standing. The survey also reflected other challenges many borrowers will face in 2 months. According to the results, 75% of respondents reported that some aspect of their finances will be negatively impacted when payments resume. 43% said their abilities to save for retirement will be compromised. 39% said the same about their discretionary income. 36% anticipate their abilities to afford day-to-day essentials will take a hit. Stress leading up to February 1st when student loan payments resume has been mounting for months. The Student Debt Crisis Center recently released a report that found 89% of borrowers with full-time jobs do not feel financially secure enough to resume paying off their debt. Wow. That's because for 27% of them, 1/3 of their incomes will go towards paying off that debt, which is money they have been using for other purposes during the pandemic. Alexandria Mavin, a 32-year-old student loan borrower with $117,000 in debt, previously told Insider the pandemic payment pause saved her $377 a month, which allowed her to pay off her medical bills from having a baby in full. Wow. It just shows how without student loans, I can afford to live. The educational department is reportedly considering a safety net to ease borrowers back into repayment, but it has yet to release specific details on those plans. I want to read that last statement by that woman again. It just shows how without student loans, I can afford to live. Wow. 89% of borrowers with full-time jobs do not feel financially secure enough to resume paying off their debt. And I love how this article takes a hit, and not only the debt crisis or a piece of the debt crisis, because there's other forms of debt that are a crisis as well, but it takes a hit at the healthcare system. So she has $117,000 in student loans. It got paused, and because it got paused, she was able to use that money that she was using to pay off her student loans to pay off her medical debt from having a child. Wow. Just wow. This is what a system. What a system. This is absolutely amazing to me. So we had a pandemic, or we still have a pandemic, but so borrowers were struggling before. People with student loan debt were struggling before, and with the introduction of the pandemic, they paused student loans because a lot of people were struggling, and they didn't want to allow them to struggle even harder. Right? Isn't it amazing how in a pandemic, when so many people are struggling, these people with this student loan debt actually found in their struggle some form of positivity because they didn't have to keep being squeezed by the federal government for this money that they borrowed for only seeking a higher education. Look at that. Wow, isn't that something? Isn't that something? And a lot of these people just they're I mean, when these student loan debt payments resume, they're just going to be out on their ass. They're not going to know what to do. I mean, it is what it is. This is amazing. This is amazing. So our government has decided. This is what this means. Our government has decided. You know what? Nah, these borrowers, man, these people, this student loan debt, they've had enough time to get their shit together. Even though we're still in a pandemic, even though many people are still struggling, look, they've had enough time. It's time to start squeezing them again for everything that they have. That's all this is. And you know what this student loan debt pause has shown us? That they don't need your money. They don't need our money. They don't need it. Why? Because look, I mean, look around you. Has the country burned down? Has the government collapsed from being underfunded because they couldn't get the $377 that that woman owes a month? No. No, they don't need our money. It has exposed them. It has exposed them. And the Democrats are in office. And it doesn't even matter that Democrats are in office. We have a Democratic president. And Joe Biden has all the power and then some to eliminate the federal student loan debt, which once again is a crisis of $1.7 trillion. Has the power to get rid of it instantly, but he won't do it. Why? Because debt is, look, it's a means of control. It's a means of control. And it's a way that they can keep a large chunk of the population in check. Okay? There's a club. There's a really small club. It's a collection of people that essentially run this country and have the most money and have all the influence. And they bought out the politicians. They bought the government. And they get to have this economy run the way that they want to. And they impose through the government on you things like student loan debt. And it keeps you in your place and allows them to keep rigging the system and to get the benefits out of it that they so often receive.